All right, Rob. Let's talk about Kansas City and Miami. Kansas City beat the Miami Dolphins 21-14. And now, Rob, the Dolphins, I think that they're not a top tier contender, and that seems to have been proven. I thought, Buffalo routed them 48-20, and then Philadelphia had its way with them 31-17, and now the Chiefs beat them in what was a close game. Chiefs were up early, 14 or 21-0 at halftime. But the Dolphins did fight back. I'll give them credit for that. They came back and tried and made a game of it.
And their defense held Kansas City with nothing in the second half.
Kansas City's defense is not – or offense, I'm sorry, is not – their defense is great, better than ever under the Patrick Mahomes era. But their offense is bad. Their offense, Rob, guess who has the worst defense in the league in terms of points allowed?
Who's that?
Denver.
Wow.
All right, and in 2 games against Denver this year, Kansas City averaged 14 points. They scored 9 in the game they lost to Denver. And now they go out. Miami's 25th in the league in scoring defense. And they give up 25 points a game. And Kansas City's offense could only manage 14 points. So they've got some issues there that we've talked about before with their offense. But I don't think the Dolphins were exposed because I felt like the Dolphins had already been exposed. I think they're a finesse team. They can't get physical enough with the top teams, like Philadelphia. I think San Francisco would be too physical for them. Kansas City is tough physically, especially on defense. But, Rob, I do think that Tua, and exposed is probably strong because I think he's a good quarterback. But I do think he was exposed, for lack of a better term. And I hesitate to call him great. I'm not ready to give him that nod, and I've been hesitant about that, whether it's untimely interceptions or what have you. And, Rob, yesterday, he flat out fell apart toward the end of that game.
Yeah, he couldn't hold on to the football. It was a mess.
Yeah, first he misses the pass. He almost throws the interception. They got a minute left, and they're marching. Chance to tie the game. He almost throws the interception to Raheem Mostert. He hit in the flats. It wasn't picked off, but it almost was picked off. Then he misses a wide-open Cedric Wilson on what could have been a touchdown pass and tied the game. Now, it was a miscommunication. Wilson was running long. Tua threw it short. But again, we talked about it with Dak. You can't have those things when you're playing a top-tier opponent. And then, Rob, you mentioned it, last play of the game, he's in the shotgun, just drops the snap. Now, it was not too errant, Rob, where he shouldn't have been able to catch it. It might have been a little to his right, but the bottom line looked like he took his eyes off the ball and dropped it, and they didn't even get a playoff. And the thing is, one bad game is one bad game. I wouldn't overreact to that. But listen to these numbers, Rob. This is Tua this season. Against teams under 500, he's 6-0, he and the Dolphins. He throws for 320 yards a game, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, passer rating of 114.8. Against the 3 teams with winning records that the Dolphins have played, they've gone 0-3. Tua, of course, played all these games. Rob, he goes from averaging 320 yards a game to averaging 230 yards a game. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, passer rating of 89.2. And one thing you're seeing is when he is taken off time, when their timing is disrupted, whether it's him or the receivers, then their offense really struggles. And I think he struggles a bit seeing those second and third reads. If his first read's not there, then he's not the same quarterback. And so I think that he was exposed a bit yesterday, and that's probably a big reason, too, why he fell to 4th in MVP ratings from number 1 in the odds.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Because it's not an overreaction to one situation or one game or one scenario, despite what they've looked like when they've made mincemeat out of some teams, Chris. Like,
right.
And they have. When we watch that, I don't care who you're playing or what the situation is, what they did to Denver was eye-popping, right?
Right.
Just eye-popping. How could you be like, what? But now when you start to look at it, and then we talk about it all the time, Chris, if you're going to crown somebody or look at them for a championship or whatever it may be, you nitpick about everything.
Yep.
Who they beat. What game did he come up big in? What game was he small in? How many times did he beat? Oh, yeah, he was great. He was he was 500 against the good teams, and then he demolished the bad teams, right? We can accept that, Chris. You're not going to beat every good team. That's just not going to happen. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, we say it all the time. Right. Good teams lose to teams they're superior to all the time. We just said Denver beat Kansas City.
Right. So we understand that, but you can't have on your record where this is a pattern. It's a pattern now.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting because you would think that I don't know that every team's capable of doing it, but certainly they may try to take something and away from these games and use them against Miami. But I think they'll still beat up, Rob, on the also-rans, the Carolinas and the New York Giants and teams like that and put up huge numbers. But they've got it. They're kind of like Dallas. I think Dallas is got a little more substance than Miami, but they're kind of like them in that they need to prove to others and really themselves too that they can play with some of these better teams. Now you have questions about the Chiefs.
Yeah, my questions, Chris, are just, it's the same thing. Kelsey brought it up, Chris, last week on his podcast, right? Didn't we hear that?
Yep.
Like, come on, this is ridiculous. Like, we're better than this, and that's what I'm saying. Like, for the Kansas City Chiefs to only score 14 offensive points, right? Only 14, and to not score in the second half, Miami's not that good. I'm sorry, they're not, Chris. Where are they?
25th in the league,
and they held Kansas City to no points.
Yep, 14 points. Think about that.
14 points in the game, and no points in the second half.
Yep.
Nah, that's no good. That's not Miami, Chris. That's Kansas City.
Yeah, look, I've been beating this drum. The offensive line is fine. The running game with Isaiah Pacheco is fine. We know Patrick Mahomes is great. Travis Kelce's great. Rob, they've got no receivers. They don't create. They got no deep threat. Justin Watson was trying to go deep yesterday. He couldn't. They double teamed Travis Kelce and shut him down. He had 3 catches for 14 yards.
Ridiculous, Chris. Ridiculous.
And the offense stopped.
Right.
They doubled him, so they kept him in check, but no one else could step up. And I've said it, Rob. I think I get it. They've improved the defense, but I think they're taking Patrick Mahomes for granted.
So Chris, AD comes out again. AD comes out the game again. So we got to keep an eye on that.
Because he can win these games without, great receivers. I think they're kind of playing with fire. Because can they do that against the upper echelon teams?
No, not
maybe. Maybe. I mean, they're that good.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to have trouble beating Baltimore and Cincinnati and some of these other elite teams if they can't score more than they're doing right now.
I agree. I think that you could get away with it now, but when you're making that run, Chris, to the Super Bowl or trying to get there, they're going to be good teams there. And if you can't score in those situations, and you get shut out in the second half. What team with Patrick Mahomes getting shut out in the second half by a 25th ranked defense?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. And again, Rob, Denver, they scored 9 points. Think about that.
That's another
team
game.
that gave up 70.
You got 9 against them.
Right. So